Well, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Said Agil Amnawar. I am from English Education Department, the class of 3 and 4, and I'm the student of 2018. Over here, I'd like to complete my assignment. It means assignment of English specific purpose, and the lecturer is Ma'am Indah Miftah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, over here, I'd like to explain about DSP and EGP. Before continuing in the content of ESP, we have to know both of them, ESP and ESP exactly, and English general purpose. Well, ladies and gentlemen, ESP contains the emergence of a number of activities, movements, and subjects. They are carried out predominantly, not exclusively, in English across the world. It looks at the purpose for which the student needs to learn English, occasional or for study purposes. ESP is a term that refers to teaching or studying English for particular career like law, business, medicine, biology, life, or many others, maybe for business in general, or for having communication each other, and many others. Hutchinson and Waters emphasize ESP to be an approach and not a product, which means language learning, not language used in highlighted. Well, it is the explanation of English specific purpose. What about English general purpose? English general purpose is focused on something like taught. The students are taught with grammar, listening, speaking, and writing. The teacher must teach those things in order the student can can do communicative in English exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, definition of content: the draw attention to learning centered approach in which all decisions as to content and method are based on the learner's reason for learning. So, ESP is focused on what the reason why the students are learning about the ESP. What for? Maybe for specific purpose like studying vocabulary, or studying English in business or in medicine, or maybe in law, and many others. Coffee or surf. The ESP is a quick and economical use of the English language to pursue a course of academic study or effectiveness in paid employment. Well, definition of content in English specific purpose. English specific purposes or English for special purposes refers to the teaching and learning of English as a second or foreign language, where the aim of the learner is to use English in particular domain. ESP is defined to meet the specific needs. Okay, let me underline. ESP is defined to meet specific needs of the learners. ESP makes use of underlying methodology and activities of the discipline itself. ESP is centered. ESP is centered on the language appropriate to these activities in terms of grammar, lexis, register, study skills, or discourse and genre. Well, characteristic of ESP course. ESP as a course is categorized into two. The first, absolute characteristic, and the second is variable characteristics. Robinson, in the years of 1991, also suggests two absolute criteria for defining ESP courses. The first is that ESP programs are normally goal-oriented. The second is that they derive for the needs analysis. The needs analysis will state as accurately as possible what learners will have to do when speaking the language. Absolute characteristics of ESP. The absolute characteristics of the ESP courses are designed to meet the specific needs of the learner, Next, related in content to particular disciplines or occupations. Next, centered on language specific to those disciplines or occupations. Then, absolute characteristics of ESP. ESP is defined to meet specific needs of the learners. Next, ESP makes use of underlying methodology and activity of the discipline it serves. Next, ESP is centered on the language appropriate to this activity in terms of grammar, literature, study skills, discourse, and genre. Then next, variable characteristics of ESP course. The variable characteristics are the course may be restricted in the skill to be learned, not to be taught according to a particular methodology. Okay. Generally, ESP has following features: authentic materials, exactly. Because why it's called authentic materials? Because it is useful for our life, maybe for specific language in law, or maybe for specific language in medicine, or for specific language in business. And then the next is purpose related to orientation, and the next self-direction. ESP is more relevant than general English. ESP is used as a register analysis. ESP is used a rhetorical and discourse approach. ESP is used a communicative approach. ESP is used as target situation analysis. Well, register analysis. Register analysis has been defined as an attempt to analyze the linguistic foundation of language we use in given situation and the ways in which the language we speak or write varies according to the type of situation. Register analysis has been a strong research in linguistics area in linguistics for several decades. Many people are now working with example of genuine text in the hope of establishing the linguistic features which the characteristic of them. Text linguistic, discourse analysis, pragmatic and register and genre all depend on communicative events which have taken place. Rhetorical art or skill or speaking or writing formally and effectively, especially as a way to persuade or influence people. Discourse, formal and orderly and usually extended expression of thought and subject. Who is then the type of ESP? The major types of ESP are telepathy, the ability to read another person's thoughts. Then the second, clairvoyance, the ability to see events or objects happening somewhere else. Then precognition, the ability to see the future, and recognition, the ability to see into the distant past. Mediumship, the ability to channel dead spirits. Then common types of ESP: teaching business English. Okay, this is the common type of ESP. Business English students are some of the most common ESP learners. Teaching to the IELTS and TOEFL test, or teaching aviation English, teaching tourism English, or teaching medical English. ESP concentrates more on language in context than on teaching grammar and language structures. Okay, ESP more on language in context than on teaching grammar and language structures. So it's teaching about grammar or the structure of language is all about English general purposes. Those things should be taught in the class by the teacher. ESP is specific purpose to learn the language in business, law, and medicine, and many others. Or maybe as a tourism English language for purpose, and so on. The ESP focal point is that English is not taught as a subject separated from the student's real world. Instead, it is integrated into subject matter area important to the learners. Why do we study English for specific purpose? So why should we learn English specific purpose? More and more individuals are seeking to improve their English language skill for highly specific academic or professional reasons. Its curriculum is centered on the language and culture specific to the field, while teaching grammar, vocabulary, communication style, and study skills. Well, ladies and gentlemen, uh, as we learned, as I told you, ESP is focused on that we want to having a job like we want to have a job in business or in medicine or in law or maybe in biological life and many others. We can use ESP. Not all of people can understand or can memorize all of the vocabularies is something related to the all of those major. Everyone everyone maybe everyone can translate, maybe some, but most of the people, maybe almost the people cannot translate all of the word in this word, because the people has their own has their own major language, because business language and biological language have different language, maybe the language of vocabularies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's why in order the reason why we should study English for specific purpose, individuals are seeking to improve their English language skill for highly specific academic or personal reasons. The reason why should we use English? Reason is, of course, we use English for our job later, exactly. And then let me give the emphasis that all of the people cannot understand other major, because the people have their own major in learning business or business skill or business language or business fabulous and French language and so on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of ESP, as I told you, ESP concentrates more on language in context than on teaching grammar and language structures. In this case, we have to know learning about grammar, writing, speaking, or maybe listening is focused on English general purpose, that it should be taught in the class. It should be taught in the class by the teacher. ESP is only focused on the next career or the next step for facing the world of work by using English. What should we use English for? Having communicative in English, in order we can communicate with many others in this world, because English is the international language, as we know. In order we can communicate with other person who are not in the local where we live, that they don't know our local language. So as the international language English, exactly, we use English for having communication with them. Well, yes, the next, let me give emphasis. The ESP focal point is that English is not taught as a subject separated from the student's real world. Instead, it is integrated into a subject matter area important to learners. Well, while teaching of English specific purpose, maybe in the specific business of medicine or law, they have their own way to be taught. Like we have to know the need of the students. They want to get they want to understand in the major that they own. The example, the first student want to learning of business, we have to give something related to the business. We have to know the need before teaching the English purpose. We have to know the need of students. If the student want to have a job in business or maybe in medicine, we have to give something focus on the medicine or the business or the law, and many others, maybe for the tourism and so on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all. Maybe it's enough for me, or not enough for me, but it's enough for you. There I explained about why should we learn ESP, what is ESP, what is the content of ESP. I have told you much last time, and then I hope you can understand what I have explained to you, and see you, and I hope we can see again, and we can learn together about English specific purpose again. Well, my name is Muhammad Said Al Munawar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.